another mystery that will never be solved is the fight between Monique Samuels and Candiace Dillard Bassett in the wine cellar. There was a lot to say on all ends, okay? So Monique, she talks about how Andy supported her after everything went down. You know, she kind of reached out to him and had like conversations with him about it. And then Candiace says, did you know Andy never ever reached out to me ever, not until the airing of the season when I was on Watch What Happens Lives. And I have so many qualms with it, especially when I heard that he had spoken to Monique. And then Andy, in my opinion, kind of throws Candiace under the bus a little bit, you guys. He actually says, I never reached out to Monique. She reached out to me and asked if I was available and said she wanted to speak with me. That's how that conversation happened. She wanted to plead her case and tell her side of the things. She wanted to prove to me that Candiace provoked her. And then Candiace talks about reaching out to the assistant and never getting a call back. And so this is where I feel like Candiace, as usual, like she does have a little bit of a point, but as usual, what does Candiace do? She goes too far because what did she do? She brought his child up. She brought his child up. She goes, you know, he's got all these Housewives numbers, but how many of them were physically attacked on camera by their co-star? The fact that he couldn't schedule 10 minutes to reach out to me, you don't give an FUCK. You're making money off our backs and feeding your son with it, and you just don't give an FUCK about us, and you can't tell me that you do. And when I saw him I said this to his face. Did she go too far, y'all? Bringing up the baby?
Well, she's not lying.
It's true, but, you know, your workplace, like corporate, never actually cares about you. Like, you know, to me, the fact that this woman is in her 30s and this is her just finding out about this, that's a little interesting to me. Like, yeah, they're here for the money. Like, you're only useful to them for the money for the most part. Even HR, they're not there because they genuinely care about you. They're there to protect the company.
Yeah, I wanted to say that earlier. Like, HR is a joke, like in a lot of places. Like, people act like HR is like the police, but it's a joke in a lot of companies. It's like you said, it's there.
It's not a joke when you get a lawsuit, though.
Exactly. That's all they're there for, to make sure the company does not get hit with a lawsuit. I think there was more that I'm missing here. So Monique said that Andy basically told her, listen, I'm not saying what you did was right, but there's a thing called cause and effect. If you keep poking a bear, the bear is going to bite back. He wasn't condoning violence or taking sides, but he said, just do what you can. And then Andy basically confirms it. He goes, my point of view on this stuff has totally been skewed by what happened with Kenya and Portia, because I was the only person in the room that day who didn't understand that Kenya was provoking Portia and that it was about to escalate. That's why I kind of started looking at what was Candiace's role in this. That's unusual for me. So, you know, based on this fight with Portia and Kenya, Andy was like, you know what? I didn't realize that Kenya might have been perceived as provoking Portia.
That's Carlos King.
Yep. So what did you think? Was he a little bit of shade of Candiace, or is he just trying to kind of like rectify what he missed in the previous fight? What do you think?
That's how I took it. I felt like he missed, and Carlos King even said that, like, he was the only one that realized that when Portia stood up, she was standing up because she was about to grab this girl. Like, and Andy said that he didn't realize, you know, when Portia stood up, like, he didn't understand what was going on, the tension. He didn't understand the tension in the room. So I feel like, yes, in a way, he was trying to rectify his actions. Like before, he just blamed Portia, who was the person who physically started the fight. So this time he's trying to look at it from both sides. I think he was trying to rectify, and also in a public way, trying not to be on the quote unquote wrong side.
Yeah. Instead of being an employer and conducting it a professional way, he should have had the conversation, as I said at the top of this, with both of them.
You know, I completely agree with your point on that. Like, you know, a conference call, something with everybody on, or like at least call both of them, get both sides. But at the same time, I think Andy doesn't have that kind of power really anyway in the Bravo universe, doesn't he? Like,
he's not their employer. And also, one of you guys were saying about bringing up personal issues. He's not their employer. And obviously, he personally doesn't like Candiace. Like, we can tell even when she's on the show, when she's on Watch What Happens Live, and he tells her, oh, you are interesting. You can tell Candiace is not his favorite person.
No. And you know what? I feel like he kind of threw her under the bus. I thought I had a screenshot of this, but I didn't. But he basically said that Candiace did not tell him the stuff that she claimed that she told him to the face about you're feeding your child off my back. But she did tell me that she was upset that I had spoken with Monique. Like, he made her seem like a bratty child, as she's usually made to seem. Like, guys, what do you think about that? Like, so my question to you guys, I guess, is he right to look at both sides, or should he have just stood by Candiace? Because that's what Candiace wanted, right? Like, she was going to a therapist or whatever, and she could not see what she did to cause any of this. And like, she didn't want anybody to see or question what she could have done to contribute to this altercation.
Okay, this is my personal opinion about Candiace. When she says she can't see what she did, she doesn't realize that things started with Candiace. Like, the way people treat Candiace started when she threw that butter knife. It wasn't the fight with Monique. And even Monique says that once she saw Candiace throw that butter knife, like, she became defensive around Candiace. You know what I mean? So I feel like it started there, and Candiace, for whatever reason, I guess because her own intention was never to hurt anyone. Maybe that's her reason, but she doesn't realize people are threatened by that. Like, even if obviously you weren't trying to stab anybody, but at the same time, you picked up a knife during an argument and people are threatened by that. And Monique says that even in that scene, even though she didn't say anything, like, she was making a mental note, and that bothered her. So the way she started interacting with Candiace was different. Once she sees that this is the type of person that will pick up a knife during an argument, she started interacting with her differently. And I don't think Candiace ever acknowledges that. Like, even in the book, she says, oh, nobody was scared. If you look at their faces, they're not scared. You know, they knew I didn't mean any harm. So they're not expressing fear, and they're not saying anything. But you have Monique saying that she was disturbed by it.
Yeah.
And I would be too. In real life, if we cut the camera, in real life, I would be disturbed by that.
But you know what? Some people do minimize the scene. They go, listen, it was a butter knife. It wasn't a real knife. What do you say to that, Kempire, when people try to minimize it that way?
You can do a lot of damage with a butter knife. I'm just saying, you could. I mean, you really could. I mean, depending on where you put it, it could do a lot of damage. And here's the thing. We also have to remember, what we saw is not what the ladies that were there saw. They saw everything. And based on this new book, we see that there was a lot more that transpired that would make people look at Candiace in a very different light. Because if we knew about,
that's when the switch flipped for how people treat Candiace.
Yeah.
I can see that too, you guys. I really can. You know, I think that is a pattern with Candiace, though, is that anytime she does anything, she tries to minimize it. But when something happens to her, she tries to maximize that, you know, because very similarly, a couple episodes ago, what did she do? She threw salad at Mia, and she basically bullied Mia up until Mia's breaking point, and Mia threw salad back at her. She acted like she threw 2 pieces of lettuce, and I quote, and that Mia threw like a whole salad bowl at her. Right. Like,
well, that's actually factual. In a way, it's factual. She did throw a little piece of lettuce, but it's the energy of throwing something at someone, especially when their back is turned. So yes, she did throw like a couple pieces, and yes, Mia did throw the whole salad bowl, but I kind of felt like that's what you get for throwing something at someone. It's just my personal opinion. I feel like, and I hate to say it, I feel like that's what I would have done. You throw a little bit of salad at me. Okay. That means you can take it. You're telling me you can take it when I throw the rest of the salad at you. It's just salad. It's just salad.
But remember, it wasn't just the salad that they started throwing. You know, Candiace and Mia. You know, Mia threw, I don't know what that was that she patted on the island. But then Candiace was throwing things off the island. Maybe not in her direction, but when you start moving stuff, how am I supposed to know you're not going to throw that at me?
It's a threat, just like we talked about with Croy having the gun. Even though obviously we know he's not going to shoot anybody, it's the threat of the presence. Like when Mia broke that, I want to say it was like a butter dish.
That's what I was thinking.
It's a threat. It's a threat. It's a threat, and people pick up on that. Even though you might not have it in your hand, like like Mariah on Married to Medicine, you might not have the glass in your hand, but people still pick up on it's a threat. You just broke this plate, and it's a threat.